We interrupt your broadcast to bring you an episode from the Steeven Orel's network of truly epic podcasts. Find more shows at SteevenOrels.com. You're listening to the Superman Super Show, episode number 44, The Wonder Drug Racket. Hello and welcome to the Superman Super Show. I'm a host. My name is Steeven, and 1,000 miles over there to my right is another host, Mr. Ed Moore.
Howdy.
Howdy do, Ed. So I've been putting this playlist together on my phone, on my Apple Music. I have started and deleted and started over and over this playlist because I was trying to do something just really special and then realized that I couldn't do it. And I was trying to, stretch my mind back to some of the first songs I remember really enjoying and then find out what year those songs came out and then start building a playlist from there, going through the years and like my life in music, you know?
Okay.
But the problem that I found really quickly was it's easy to find there, you go to Wikipedia and put like 1978 in music and it'll tell you every album that was released, all the hit singles, blah, 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 and all that stuff. But a lot of music I didn't discover and start listening to until years after it was released. I became a huge Kiss fan in the late 80s and really got into albums that were released in 74, 75, so it's like, where do I put those songs?
Right. Yeah.
And so in the end, I just said, all right, I'll just start with the year I was born and just look through the songs and albums and any of them that I immediately go, all right, that one, I'll stick it on the playlist. If I have to go, do I remember that song? Let me go listen to it. No, just pass, go on.
Right. Don't worry about it.
And the other rule I made is that I can only pick one song off of an album because I was going to I'd hit Appetite for Destruction by Guns N' Roses, which as far as I'm concerned is their only album. Anything they did after that, I just deny its existence, but I'd put almost every song on that album in my playlist if I had my druthers. So that's been kind of a chore when I hit certain albums and I'm just I can only pick one song off of Beastie Boys, License to Ill. Or,
just one.
Yeah. But it's been kind of fun just sitting there and listening to this playlist.
I bet.
Go from really old Van Halen to Poison, Public Enemy, just this weird mix of stuff. And I'm up to 92. Okay. And the playlist is over 15 hours long.
Wow.
So, but it's like one of those things that I'll probably finish getting all the music because I'm listening to it as I'm loading it. Mm-hmm. So where I'm at as far as listening, I might be in 1984.
Okay.
Which, boy, that was hard too, trying to pick a Van Halen song off of 1984. I went with Panama, but
okay,
yeah, but it's like I'll get it all done. I'll finish listening to the playlist, and then I'll probably never open that playlist again. But it's been kind of fun.
Well, that's cool. Yeah, music is a cool thing that way.
Music has always been just a freaking huge part of my life. Whether I used to play music, but it's like I don't like silence. I just don't. Okay. And I also don't like to fill the silence by having a conversation with people I don't really know. So I try to fill it with music. I can't drive without music. I just.
What is it they call when you talk about something inane like the
small
weather?
Talk.
Small talk. I don't small talk.
No.
I will sit in silence before I small talk. I can't small talk.
I don't understand the need for small talk. It's
because
I do. I guess some people, most folks, just cannot stand silence.
Right. Yeah.
If there's somebody in the room with them.
Yeah. Silence is bad.
Yeah.
So if
Whereas
you're not making noise, something's wrong. It's yeah.
Yeah. And I'm perfectly comfortable sitting in a room with somebody for hours on end without saying a word.
Yep.
Doesn't bother me in any way.
If there is not a reason, if there is not a commonality, I'm not going to try to make that commonality. If it's not there, okay, that's fine. I can't have something in common with everyone.
Right.
And that doesn't bother me. I'm like, okay. Do I know you? Have we ever? No? Oh, okay.
For me, it's part of, I guess, being on the spectrum. It's something that I've read about. Just don't, small talk's not a thing. You kind of have to learn how to do it. I'm very reactionary when it comes to small talk. I don't initiate it, but I'm usually the one. Yeah, right. Yep. That's about all. So yeah, this line's pretty long, huh? Yeah, it's pretty long.
Yeah, it's long.
Yeah. But all right. We're ready to get to the Wonder Drug.
Let's do it.
So yeah, we're looking at the Wonder Drug Racket, which is the I put the third story, but this is the fourth story to appear in Superman #5. Obviously, I was copying and pasting from the previous notes, and I didn't update it.
Mr. Word.
Written by Jerry Siegel, art by Paul Cassidy. And as we've said in the last number of episodes, Superman #5 has a cover date of summer 1940, but an on-sale date of May 10th, 1940, according to Mike's Amazing World of Comics. This is also where we got our synopsis. So let's do that. When a respected man, Morton Craig, is arrested for theft, Clark investigates. Craig won't talk, but he wants to see a Dr. Bren. Using his powers, Clark follows Bren, which leads him to a racketeer, Carlin. Carlin visits a chemist, Carl Grinstead, who has developed a wonder drug, parabiolene. Is that how you would pronounce it?
Yeah, that's what it looks like to me, yeah.
Or parabiolene? Parabiolene.
Parabiolene.
Yeah. The Man of Steel learns that Carlin has been using the drug to force honest men like Craig to steal for him. When Grinstead realizes Carlin's true motives, he tries to make an antidote, but is nearly killed. Superman has Dr. Bren administer the wonder drug to Grinstead to save his life. Then he brings Carlin to justice while Craig is released from jail. How'd you feel about this one?
I enjoyed it. Again, it had a very similar feeling to the previous two stories. So, sitting down to read all three of these back to back, they just they didn't necessarily flow one to the next, but they were so similar that it was almost like you just read almost like the next chapter and the next chapter in a continuing story rather than abruptly he was in space and then he wasn't and then he was, it's like just more normal bad guys, and Clark the reporter gets into something and Superman rescues Clark the reporter somehow, and it just I like this issue of Superman. I like the feeling of the story so far.
Yeah, it was I didn't find it as much of a whirlwind of confusion as the last one. But there were moments like, okay, we got this doctor, but he's administering the drug, but he's not the bad guy, but the professor. But now there's a professor and he's a bad guy. And I found it interesting that two stories in a row dealt with a bad guy using drugs to influence people to make them do bad. What was it that the guy at the beginning, he had anemia? What?
Anemia.
What was his medical anemia? What? I didn't look that up. Do you know what that is?
Anemia. It's not enough red blood cells.
Oh, okay.
Anemic.
Oh,
if someone is anemic, it's the same root word.
We get more. Not only do we get more of Superman jumping, when he's actually flying, but one guy actually yells out, "He can fly!" As he's jumping.
See,
but
even people back then thought that he should be flying. I mean, come on.
But so there's this moment, the last page. So Superman goes to Carlin. He's leaning against the doorway. Are you thinking of leaving? And it says, snatching up Carlin, Superman leaps up into the air and stunts madly, which I took to mean he's up there in the air, just doing somersaults and flipping around. And
okay.
Which, I often do when I leap up into the air.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know if that means that, if we're going to use the actual laws of gravity, he jumped up in the air with the guy, and as he's falling to earth, he's doing barrel rolls and stuff like that and freaking the guy out. But it's like, just make him fly already. You want to so bad. You're right there. Just make him fly.
How about on, I don't know whatever page, it's at the bottom of the page where he has broken through the rollers that there were. Is that what it is? Yeah, metal rollers. He has busted through the wall and he's floating down to the roof, kind of like it looks like he's flying.
Yeah.
You've got an interloper there behind you on the shelf.
This is Jamie.
Okay.
Jamie is our first cat.
Just so you know, Jamie's there, not surprise you and pounce.
Nah, Jamie wouldn't do that. He often gets on that table behind me while I'm working, and he'll just put his paws on my shoulder and just be like, "Hey, can I come over and sit on your lap?"
Let you know he's there. Okay.
Yeah, that's what he's doing right now.
Let's see. Was this? Yeah, this was the one where he gets under the car and he smooths out the road because he's Superman. And okay.
The thing though, like you were talking about with the machine, that was kind of fun though, because basically here's this machine. The professor invents this drug, but the professor wasn't really a bad guy, right? He at one point learns that Carlin is using it for nefarious means, and he's like, I don't even know who you are anymore. Like they used to be old friends or something. But we learn that Carlin doesn't need the professor anymore. He's built this factory, this machine to manufacture this drug, and Superman, to destroy the machine, instead of just going over and wrecking it, he jumps into it and goes down the belt through the rollers into the machine. And because he's impervious to damage, just him going through it just wrecks the whole thing. And I thought that was really clever. I really enjoyed that. That was quite a bit different than, when he destroyed the car factory by just going in and smashing everything. Yep. So
lot more inventive. Plus, you can figure Superman maybe had a little bit better time this time destroying things because he's doing all these different things,
Yeah, and he's got all these one-liners. So as he's going through the rollers, it's about time I had my costume pressed. Yeah. And then as he's flowing through the machinery, through the complicated machinery, passes Superman, battling his way through bolts, knives, drills. And he says, this is getting complicated. And and then he comes out of the machine and they start shooting him, which he just,
These past 3 stories, that has happened a lot.
Yeah.
That he was attacked with automatic weapons. So they've graduated from just pistols, even though still it seems that nobody knows who Superman is.
Yeah.
But now everybody is carrying automatic weapons when they try to shoot Superman, but they weren't expecting Superman. They just normally are more bad guys now are starting to carry automatic weapons than previously.
Yeah. Was it the last story? It might've been the last story where they're shooting them with their machine guns and it has no effect. But one guy says, "Oh, I'll use this elephant gun on him. That'll get him."
No, I think that was in the first story. Yeah.
Oh, was it? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. Which it's like, but somebody carries around an elephant gun in case it's needed. I mean, that sounds like I don't know if you're familiar. Do you know what a BAR is? Browning automatic rifle. Yeah. So it's like somebody carrying around some big, it's like, where did you get an elephant gun and why are you carrying one around? Who do you go up against that you need an elephant gun? Yeah. Something I did notice here at the beginning, where he's talked to the dude in the jail and the thug comes in and talks to the dude in the jail. Clark starts to trail the doctor. When he changes into his Superman outfit, he doesn't have the cape on. He's holding the cape like he puts it on as a separate accessory. First time we've seen that. It's always part of, although they don't show it, but it's always part of the after when he's put it on like normal. But here they showed it as a separate piece that he's holding to.
Yep.
Too bad. I would have liked to have seen him, with the flourish around his and attach, or however. How does that attach to? But so notice that.
One of my favorite sequences is after he follows the doctor to this house, and he's up on the roof hiding behind a chimney, and I guess it's a rival of Carlin who is going to shoot him through the skylight. And Superman jumps over and stops the bullet with his hand. Mm-hmm. And then they fall through the skylight. And then this is one of those moments where Superman pretends to be helpless. Mm-hmm. He allows the bad guys to capture him and throw him in the back of the car. They take him to a bridge over a river. They shoot him. He pretends to fall and die. And then they toss him into the river. And he just sits at the bottom of the river watching them until they leave.
Yeah, just chilling until it's time to come out.
And that's when he runs after him, grabs the back of the bumper and pulls himself under the car. And, hits the bumps. Yeah, that's great stuff.
As Superman strikes the road's bumps, he flattens them, it tells us. Yeah. Took that one with me.
And then, so we have a doctor who administers the drug at the beginning, but he didn't invent it. The professor did. Mm-hmm. And then we get one gang, and then suddenly we get a second gang, and then they start fighting each other.
Right.
Superman comes in and he beats them all up, and he hangs them on these stuffed moose heads and whatnot on the wall, which is funny.
Right.
And they never really explain, as far as I can tell, what this drug actually does. Mm-mm. Why it's both addictive, I guess, and yet it's obviously something that can help people medically.
Right. It's beneficial because they use it to cure the inventor.
Yeah.
They give him some of it at the end, I guess, in a dosage that doesn't cause him to become addicted or whatever, but it does heal or help him heal or whatever. Yeah. So you've got the doctor who is bad. You've got the head bad guy. You've got the creator of the drug who is not bad. You just... this one, like the other story, had all of these different things going on between the two rival papers as Superman was bouncing off. This one had all these different people that you're having to try to keep up with. Who is this and which one is that? And
a lot of characters. And unfortunately, because the art, they don't always do a good job. Showing you the differences between them. And then when they accidentally color one guy's suit the wrong color, it can get confusing. And then they don't explain any of the science at all.
Nope.
Why, what, remind me what happened to the doctor in the first place that he needed to take the drug to cure him. Was
he tried to kill himself because his drug had been used against what he thought it should be. And he's like, well, I am ultimately responsible. There's only one thing to do as the responsible person. And Superman came in just in time to rescue him from dying, but he still did, because he did I'll mix all these chemicals in my lab, minus, of course, a lightning bolt, because if there'd been a lightning bolt, he would have turned into the Flash. But, he mixed all these chemicals, caused a big explosion, and then Superman comes in and he's like, just in time to keep him from dying. But he's still pretty messed up. Took him to the hospital, and they're like, oh, well, we can fix him with his own drug. We can make him better than he was before. So,
The only science they really include in this whole story is when he takes the doctor to the hospital, and one of the hospital doctors tells Superman, we can't do anything for Grinstead. He's already dead. Superman tells him, please do as I say. Put him in an artificial fever machine and keep the temperature high until I return. I mean, isn't having a high fever a bad thing? Doesn't it fry your brain? And
I thought so. Yeah. When you get to a certain point, your body, the proteins that make up your body actually start coming apart. So you melt yourself if you get too hot and stay too hot for too long.
And I don't know if you can see this. This is on the last page. When he goes to the professor to get the drug, and the professor's like, oh, take me with you. And he snatches the professor up and leaps out the window. And the panel of him holding the professor under his arm, it looks like the guy's back is broken.
Yeah, he's holding him in a very difficult position there. It's
got to be a more comfortable way to carry a man. But.
Well, like you say, at the very least, hold him in the way so that when he bends, it's not breaking his back. Yeah. It's, but this way, it's like if dude bent, that's not going to.
Let him bend the way he's supposed to.
Yeah, a natural bend.
Did they not have the fireman's carry by this point? Did they not know how to carry a person? I mean, he doesn't even hold him like a baby or anything. He just tucks him under his arm, and that's just how he does it with everybody.
But they have shown it before where they're stomach down when he holds them under his arm.
Yeah, this is, I think, the first time the guy is face up.
And he says, this is fantastic. I'm like, yeah, but 3 seconds later, you lost all feeling beneath the earlobes there. Yeah, because,
again, Superman's not flying. He's jumping. Right. So every time he hits the ground, that guy's going to go, snap. He's going to bend the wrong way.
And every time he jumps, right, the acceleration is going to cause him to bend too.
Yep. It's like, so, have you ever seen the YouTube channel Honest Trailers? Mm-mm. Where they make a movie trailer for a movie, but it's like it almost tells you the truth, even though it's meant for comedic purposes. Right. I would like to see somebody do that with stories like this. So Superman leaps out the window with this guy, holding him the way that he's holding him. But then by the time he gets him to the hospital, dude's dead because his back has been broken like in 5 places.
Yeah.
It's just funny.
It's interesting the things they do think about and the things they don't think about when they're drawing.
Right. Yeah. I mean, an artist you think why would he do that? Why would he draw that? It makes no sense.
Yeah, I don't know. And it's not like, in this position, he spent a lot of time, a lot of detail or anything like that on the dude. The dude is very undeveloped as far as the drawing.
Yeah.
So, I don't know.
I mean, if the writer had told him that Superman is leaping out the window holding a mannequin, that's what you would draw.
Yes.
But no, he's holding a live human being. Crazy. He's wearing those really awesome shoes with the white around the ankle. What are those called?
Spats.
That's what a spat is, huh?
Yeah.
Nice.
It's usually like a light colored something over a dark colored shoe so that you get a two-tone. You can also buy shoes expressly designed that way as well. Yeah. So that way you don't have to wear spats because the shoes look like that. And I know because a couple years back, the wifey got me a pair of those for Christmas. They're really spiffy.
Very nice.
Saddle shoes.
So cool. Saddle
shoes look a lot like that. Yeah.
So this story ends like most of them do. He catches the bad guy, forces him to confess, and then the guy goes to jail. But we don't get the final panel with him back at work. Mm-mm. That's a good story, Clark. Now get out there and get me some more news.
Right. No, this is the more humanitarian ending because the doctor was in a bad way and he saved the doctor. So we need to check in on the doctor to make sure that worked. And actually, this goes a long way, this one last panel, into explaining why this scientist did what he did in trying to kill himself.
Yeah.
So.
And that's the last panel is the second panel in the entire story that Lois shows up in. She's in the first one and she's in the last one.
I guess you got to make sure she's a part of the Superman story. You got to put her in there somewhere. Maybe there's a mandate. Yeah. Lois needs to be in there at least twice.
Yep. And the splash panel, the big panel at the opening of the story, has Superman saving another train,
which has nothing to do with the story.
No. And I truly believe, I think we made a joke a couple of episodes back where one of those panels, it was like a guy being whipped. Had again, nothing to do with the story. And I think we made a joke that, it was a panel they didn't use in an earlier story.
Right.
But I read, I think it was the foreword to the Savage Conan collection, that the first volume that collects the magazine stuff.
Okay.
And Roy Thomas writes the foreword, and it's long. It's like 10 pages or something, but he's talking about how they put together the first few issues. And there's a lot of stuff in there that they're like, all right, so we needed something for this page. And I had this piece of art that somebody drew 4 years ago that we never used. So we give him a payment and boom, it's in the magazine.
Okay.
So they obviously did stuff like that, but
I haven't heard any podcasts about Conan.
I know. Don't. I've got too many. I have been trying to decide what, I know that I've talked about it. I've been doing all these Madman episodes in a row on Just Another Fanboy. I've got 4 more to do, and then I'm going to take a break from Madman. I'm going to do something else, and I haven't quite decided what I'm going to do. Conan is on my list. I did do one episode, and it's how I want to do the rest of them, where I have an audiobook with all the Robert E. Howard stories.
Right. You compared.
Yeah, listen to the story and then read the comic adaptions and talk about it. So
was it the Frost Giant's daughter? Was that the one you talked about? Okay. Because that's like I don't know if it's the first one that he wrote, but it is the first one I think that they adapted in a comic.
Yeah. It's I don't know when he wrote it. It's not his first Conan story to be published.
Okay.
His first Conan story to ever be published was Phoenix on the Sword, and he's a king already in that story, which just amazed me when I found that out. It's like, because when they do the comic book adaptions, they always try to do it in biographical order.
Right.
So the Frost Giant's daughter, while it was published later, it's his first adventure.
Right.
Biographically, or however you chronologically. Yeah. So.
Yeah, he doesn't get to be king until like way down the road there.
Yeah. Phoenix on the Sword, though, is a really good story. That's the one I'm doing next. I listened to the story months ago. I just haven't finished. I haven't finished the Dark Horse version. I read the Marvel version, and then there's a Dark Horse version. I haven't finished it yet. So.
Okay. Well, cool. Sorry, don't mean to twist the knife. I just meant to stick it in there once.
I know. It's like, It's like I got G.I. Joe.
Yep.
I want to do Justice League.
Oh, that's
Elf Quest. Moon Knight,
somewhere along the way, you're going to have to just read and not podcast about it.
Yeah.
Just read it and move on.
Yeah. I've been reading a lot of stuff I'm not podcasting about. Yeah. I'm 3 volumes into Invincible.
Okay.
See, and it's something Doug says, I would love to listen to that Conan podcast. Yeah. And it's something that I have given thought to, because it's like my heart wants to do Post-Crisis Superman or Justice League International.
Okay.
But there's already a good Justice League International podcast out there, the Bwahaha cast or whatever it's called.
Right.
There's already a good Post-Crisis Superman podcast out there. Bailey is the guy's last name.
Yeah, I was going to say, is that Michael Bailey? Is that where he is?
Yeah, Michael Bailey. And he's been doing it for years. He's like way far into it at this point. But
From Crisis to Crisis, I think, is the name of that show.
Yes, exactly. That's it. Yeah. So it's like, all right, well, but if I should do something that not a lot of people are doing, and the first 2 that come to mind there are Moon Knight or Conan. So
there is an active Moon Knight podcast.
Oh, well, then I guess Conan is the way I got to be leaning.
Well, but they're quite a ways in.
Yeah.
And I'm sure somewhere along the way, probably somebody has talked about early Conan, but it's been so long ago that, I'm pretty sure that there's not a current Conan podcast. Nobody talking about like the Marvel stuff that just ended or anything like that I've seen. So, and even like you mentioned ElfQuest, there is there's a couple ElfQuest shows that come to mind, but neither one of them are really active right now. So
yeah, and I mean that's when I have, because I have recorded 2 episodes to my post-crisis Superman.
Mhm.
That if I launch it, it won't be till July, and hopefully I'll have 6 or 7 episodes
right
under my belt. And while there is that show From Crisis to Crisis out there, the way I kind of look at it is they're a 2-voice podcast.
Right.
I'm doing it by myself, so it's going to be a different type of feel. Plus, they're so far into it at this point that if you want to jump in and start listening to the first you got a lot of episodes to go through. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's.
We always seem to end up at the end of the night whenever we do these talking about all the bad decisions I've made with podcasting.
No, not at all. I like giving you a hard time, and you bite, and we just run with it. So.
There was a show, I don't know if it's still active. Wasn't there a show called Days of High Adventure? It's not primarily a Conan podcast. It's like fantasy comic books. But.
He hasn't put out an episode in a little while, but I don't think he's abandoned the process.
Yeah.
I believe, no, I'm not going to say that. He does some other shows, but what they are isn't coming to mind. So I don't want to confuse him with somebody else. But yeah,
I think he might be one of those regular writers to John's podcast.
I think so.
I feel like John mentions that podcast a lot.
Professor Allen, he writes in a lot of feedback to Professor Allen too, because Professor Allen has run his teaser or whatever you want to call it on his show before. Okay, so let's finish this one up.
Anything else you got? Yeah, anything else on this story?
No, obviously not, because we...
Right, because we're talking about something else.
We went way off the rails there.
Yeah. All right, let's wrap it up.
All righty.
We want to thank everybody for listening. I think next week, which would be the next episode, not the next week for us, but I think the next issue we have is another World's Fair, the second one. I think they only did 2, right?
Yeah.
And this has got Batman on the cover with him, so...
Yeah, I think it's an anthology book, and it's got several...
Yeah.
We undoubtedly in the Superman hardback that we're looking at, we'll only have the Superman story, but I believe there was a Superman and a Batman and a Green Arrow come to mind, and maybe that's all I can remember. But yeah, it was an anthology book like Action has been. So.
Yep. All right, so until then, folks, my name is Steven, and that's Ed, and this was the Superman Super Show. Bye.
Adios.
You've been listening to the Superman Super Show. Questions and comments can be directed to the Superman Super Show at gmail.com. You can follow the show on Twitter under the handle @SoupsSuperShow. That's @SUPS Super Show. And continue the conversation at the Super Show Forum at forums.justanotherfanboy.com. We also encourage you to rate the show wherever available and share this podcast with a friend. All links will be in the show notes.
Superman is a copyrighted feature appearing in Action Comics magazine.